Vol 1ch 21. Is he dead? Noya stood on the bed, lifted her foot, and kicked Leon's head. Little Muin jumped at the bedside. Sister, you can't kick Dad like that, it's impolite. Adults are talking, kids shouldn't interrupt. HMPH. Muin looked at Risvitha on the side. Mother, Dad was fine 2 days ago. Why did he suddenly faint again? Risvitha looked at Leon expressionlessly. Perhaps he suddenly fell ill. Who knew why this guy suddenly had a seizure 3 days ago? According to Risvitha, he just had an outburst. Leon certainly knew the consequences of doing this to himself, but he still did it. And he did it with pleasure. Could Risvitha indulge him? Absolutely not. Just didn't expect that with one punch, he would be unconscious for a full 3 days. Dad won't sleep for another 2 years like last time, right? Muin said with concern and despair. By the time Dad wakes up, Muin will already be a big dragon. Dad won't be able to carry me anymore. No matter how big you get, he can still carry you. All right, you two go out and play, Risvitha said. Yes, Mother. Noya turned around to jump off the bed, but after some thought, she stepped on Leon's stomach. Muin was scared and covered his eyes. Even after being stepped on so many times and not waking up, Dad might not be pretending to sleep after all. After getting off the bed, Noya pulled Muin away. Muin looked at her unconscious dad with reluctance. Dad, when you wake up, remember to wash your face. Sound of a slap, 2 little dragon girls left the room. Risvitha still looked at Leon coldly. If you keep pretending, the next thing stepping on your stomach won't be Noya's foot. I swear it hurts. During his near-death experience, Leon sat up abruptly, clutching his stomach and rolling on the bed. Little thing, you're not big. Why is your foot so heavy? The bone density of dragon kind is a bit larger than humans. Did you feel it when you were carrying Muin? Felt it. Then why did you ask? Do I have to answer just because I asked? Did I force you? You'd better die, Leon. Risvitha raised her hand, ready to wield magical energy. Leon quickly grabbed a pillow and held it in front of him. Although he knew it was useless against magical energy that could level a mountain, Leon still hoped to have a pillow to rest on when he died, at least to die more comfortably. Risvitha snorted coldly, waved her hand and dismissed the energy. Realizing there was no danger, Leon slowly put down the pillow. Actually, he knew Risvitha wouldn't really kill him. If she wanted to do it, she could have done it earlier. Why wait for him to wake up? It was just that after the incident 3 days ago, Risvitha knocked him out with a punch, and then he slept for a full 3 days. In theory, he shouldn't be debilitated to this extent. But the energy he had accumulated over these days was all spent on retaliating against Risvitha that night. After the retaliation, Leon's stamina bar was completely empty, not to mention a punch from Risvitha. Even if Noya came, he wouldn't be able to endure it. Can you tell me what you were thinking at that time? Risvitha asked. What do you mean, what I was thinking? A dragon slayer just wants to use everything possible to fight against a dragon king. Is that so hard to understand? You're still thinking about resisting at this point. Why shouldn't I resist? With such rebellious words, Leon thought Risvitha would give him another harsh lesson. But to his surprise, in the eyes of the mother dragon, there was more of a sense of astonishment than anger. After a brief moment of astonishment, Risvitha smiled faintly. Good, I'll give you credit, Dragon Slayer. She said the term Dragon Slayer sincerely, starkly contrasting with the mocking and disdainful attitude at the banquet. Leon thought that she probably guessed that her contempt for him led to Leon's insane actions. So after this confrontation, this mother dragon now had more fear or caution towards him. I have to admit, Leon, you truly deserve the title, the strongest. He was determined to protect his dignity and integrity, and Risvitha truly admired that. Of course, this also made it more convenient for Risvitha to continue tormenting Leon in her way. The more he resisted, the more interested Risvitha became. Stop fooling around, get dressed, and come with me. Go out with you, why? I promised you earlier that if you taught Muin to write his name, I would allow you to walk with me. Leon raised an eyebrow. Oh, keeping your word like this. Risvitha chuckled. Consider it taking the dog for a walk. It's also a chance to show our presence as a couple in front of our people, so they don't get suspicious. Finish getting dressed quickly, we'll go down in a moment. Oh. About 10 minutes later, Leon and Rosvitha walked out of the Silver Dragon temple side by side. The Silver Dragon clan members outside the temple couldn't help but cast surprised glances at them. If they remembered correctly, this should be the first time the queen and her husband appeared together on the same screen, right? They had even kept their marriage a secret, not notifying anyone. At least, that was what the queen said. The queen also said that this male dragon king was an excellent marriage partner, didn't smoke, drink, or mess around. But then, not long after the wedding, he suddenly fell ill and remained unconscious for a full 2 years. The queen also said, "It's nothing, I love him, he loves me, let's live in peace and quiet." The queen's words. Well, forget it. No matter how much the queen said, there was not much worth reminiscing about. Now she finally took her mysterious husband out for a walk in the sun, and the clan members could finally enjoy the show. Of course, the onlookers weren't just the clan members, there were also the 2 little ones upstairs. "Hey sis, look, Dad and Mom are taking a walk." Muin leaned on the balcony railing, excitedly pointing at the 2 people in the courtyard. Noya glanced at them, and although she wanted to keep watching, she immediately looked away, saying, "Nothing is interesting to see." "But they really match well, sis." Oh. Seeing that his sister wasn't cooperating, Muin started making up his tongue twister. "Dad loves Mom, loves Muin, also loves sis Tilda." Noya paused, raised an eyebrow and snorted, "Loves me." Yes. Loves me doesn't even know my name and still says loves me. Yeah, wasn't it you who told him back then? Otherwise he wouldn't even know what I'm called. HMPH, even if he knows now, he doesn't care. Muin blinked, jumped down from the railing and looked at Noya, sis's name. "Not bad, Muin," Noya praised. "Oh, I found it, sis, look. It was a piece of paper with a name written on it, Noya K. Melkvi." The handwriting was neat and elegant, quite a beautiful script. After confirming that her sister had left, Noya quietly approached the bed, bent down and retrieved a dusty wooden box from underneath. She blew off the dust on top and then used a key to unlock the small lock on the wooden box. Inside the box was a piece of black metal fragment. Noya carefully placed the paper with her name into the wooden box. Then she locked the wooden box and tucked it back under the bed. After completing everything, Noya returned to the balcony, looking at the 2 people below. Her gaze lingered on Leon's back. After a while she whispered, "Do you really love us?" Vol 1ch 22. Outside the temple on a tree-lined path, the afternoon sun was bright, shining through the gaps in the leaves and forming light spots on the ground. A certain pair of wronged couples, although they agreed to take a walk together when they really got outside, turned into a walk separately. Rosvitha walked on the left side of the path, while Leon walked on the right. The distance between them was even wide enough to accommodate a half-grown dragon. "Good afternoon, Your Majesty," the Queen. The dragon maid with a broom bowed slightly to the left and then turned to the right. "Good afternoon, Prince." On the surface, respectful, but the dragon maid couldn't help but complain inwardly. Were these 2 crazy? They finally appeared together on the screen and had to keep such a distance. Even bowing was so inconvenient. Actually, it was not just this dragon maid who wanted to complain. Even the onlookers who were ready to enjoy the show were puzzled. It seems like Her Majesty the Queen and her husband aren't that familiar. Don't talk nonsense, they've even had 2 little princesses, how could they not be familiar? Then where have you seen a married couple walk so far apart during a stroll? Maybe their majesties value their personal space a lot. Do you believe the words coming out of your mouths? Hush, tilde, here comes their majesties. Quick. Hide. Several dragons enjoying the show quickly hid in the nearby bushes. Leon and Rosvitha walked past them. Leon's physical condition hadn't fully recovered yet, and the heroic feat from 3 days ago depleted the health he had painstakingly accumulated, but his insight hadn't diminished. He noticed the sneaky behavior of those dragons enjoying the show and caught most of the gossip they were chatting about. Leon touched his nose and looked at Rosvitha. With her abilities as a mother dragon, she should have noticed, right? She didn't suggest getting closer either. Leon decided to keep quiet. Maintaining the peaceful facade of a fake family was her concern. Leon wasn't bothered by how the dragons watching would perceive their current situation. Hey, suddenly Rosvitha spoke up. Leon glanced at her sideways. Rosvitha still looked ahead, her steps slow and rhythmic. Let's get a bit closer. Leon hummed and didn't refuse. Sure, okay. They silently moved towards the middle of the path. Finally, they stopped about a meter apart from each other. Is this good? Leon asked. Yeah, do you want to get even closer? Rosvitha asked in return. Upon hearing this, Leon's steps faltered, and he became a bit cautious. Mother Dragon, are you up to something? No, what I mean is, if you want, I won't refuse, and I won't take the opportunity to tease you. After all, this walk is also a promise from before when I taught Muin to write her name. This time, Rosvitha withdrew her gaze and turned to look at Leon. In her silver dragon eyes, there was no longer the coldness and aloofness of the past. Instead, a hint of gentleness appeared. So, do you want to get even closer? Sure. Wait. Something was definitely off. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with Rosvitha today. Actually, forget it, this is fine. Seeing Leon reject her proposal, Rosvitha didn't show emotion but nodded. Okay. A familiar child's voice appeared ahead. The two looked up. The little dragon girl was standing in the middle of the path, hands on her hips, the tuft of hair on her head gently swaying with the breeze, and her small tail wagging happily behind her. Muin, aren't you playing with your sister in the room? Rosvitha asked. Sister Noya asked Muin to track you. Noya would never ask you to do such a thing. Rosvitha immediately exposed Muin's scheme. Actually, you just wanted to follow us, right, sneakily. Seeing her plan instantly foiled by her mother, the little dragon girl didn't bother pretending anymore. She went straight between the two of them. Then she raised her arms and held the hands of both Leon and Rosvitha, one on each side. Muin wants to take a walk with Dad and Mother. Sure. Leon wished for his obedient daughter to come and ease the awkward atmosphere between him and Rosvitha. No, Muin. Rosvitha sternly said, Dad and I are walking alone, Muin. Be good, don't cause trouble. Hearing this, Muin pouted. She knew that her mother never changed her mind easily, so she cleverly sought help from Leon with her eyes. Really, Dad, if you go for a walk alone with Mother, leaving Muin alone to play in the backyard, Muin will be super sad. And who knows, Muin might get snatched by a dangerous species sneaking in, then taken into the woods and never returned. Dad will never see Muin again, all because you want to walk alone with Mother. Have you been reading that book, Enlightening Stories for Young Dragons, too much? Muin doesn't care. Muin wants to be with you. Dad, do you only love Mother and not Muin anymore? Agree with her. She was so cute, why not agree with her? Today, Dad's got your back, you follow us. If your mom doesn't agree, I'll deal with her tonight. Even though there's a high probability that she'll be the one dealing with me, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that the daughter is happy, he thought. Muin, be good, Dad and I have already agreed. Rosvitha couldn't quite hold it on her face. She had lived for 200 years, and let alone holding someone else's hand, even getting so close to Leon just now took a lot of courage. Unexpected, indeed. On Leon's side, while he was a bit uneasy, it wasn't as complex as Rosvitha's feelings. He simply wanted to know. The dragon hoof had been chewed on, so what did a dragon claw taste like? The estranged couple accepted that their first time holding hands was in front of outsiders. On the other side, Muin ran away and hid behind a tree to secretly observe. Seeing Dad and Mother holding hands, Muin secretly chuckled. You did that on purpose, Muin. Noya appeared behind Muin at some point, hands on her chest, imitating the manner of an adult like Rosvitha. Sister, you scared me. Muin covered her chest and complained playfully. HMPH, what's so interesting about holding hands? It is. Noya stepped forward and pinched her sister's chubby cheeks. You were deliberate, after all. Woo-woo, Muin was wrong. Muin won't do it again. Sister, let go, let. The two little ones played and laughed, and before leaving, Muin cast a lingering glance in that direction. She pouted, Dad is really something. Needs Muin to teach him how to hold hands. Tusk doesn't know how to take the initiative at all. Noya followed her sister's gaze and silently thought, if only it could be like this all the time. Vol 1ch 23. Sleeping with the Dragon Mother, bearing offspring with the Dragon Mother, taking a leisurely walk with the Dragon Mother, and once again, holding hands with the Dragon Mother. In an era of advanced information, if Leon's actions were exposed, regardless of his intentions, he would face public scrutiny. After Muen left, they didn't release each other's hands. However, as the awkwardness peaked, it became less noticeable. In such a situation, how much more awkward could it get? Once their hands were held, onlookers were busy shipping and secretly cheering. Leon, blushing, cleared his throat, still holding her hand, his face turning away. "If you don't want to hold hands, you can let go," he suggested. Hrisvitha, blushing, insisted, "It's okay, let's keep holding hands to avoid gossip." "Sure," Leon said, glancing at Hrisvitha. Recalling her earlier suggestion to get closer, Leon couldn't help but ask, "You seem unusually gentle today." For a dragoness, Leon would use gentle only in his daydreams. When saying it aloud, gentle might be more appropriate. "Is that so?" Hrisvitha inquired. "Yes," Leon confirmed. Hrisvitha's pupils flickered, calculating something, but she quickly resumed her serious demeanor. "It seems I have tamed you, Dragon Slayer. Now that we get along well, you're the one who seems uncomfortable." Leon adopted a playful tone, bantering, talking about being comfortable or not. "It seems the tiger has fallen into the plains and is bullied by the dog." Hrisvitha raised an eyebrow, playfully tightening her grip. "Wrong, it's the tiger that has fallen into the plains and been taken by the dragon." She deliberately prolonged the tone, leaving it as a cliffhanger. Leon turned his head, intrigued. "Taken by the dragon?" "Taken by the dragon rider." "Damn." Leon rolled his eyes but realized they were still holding hands. The fingers were interlocked, making it difficult to shake them off. This unintentional shake made them truly feel the sensation of holding hands. With palms facing each other, heat couldn't escape, and soon a thin layer of sweat appeared. Their steps stirred their hands, allowing them to rub each other's palms. It felt tingling and ticklish, causing an itching sensation in their hearts. "There are chairs ahead, let's sit for a while," Hrisvitha suggested. "Okay." As they both sat down, they instinctively withdrew their hands. At that moment, they both breathed a sigh of relief, but they felt the emptiness in their palms and the coolness that followed. Leon didn't take the initiative to hold Hrisvitha's hand again. Leaning against the chair, he enjoyed the warm sunlight, finding comfort in its rays. It could temporarily help him forget the loneliness of being away from home. She glanced at Leon, whose eyes were closed and savoring the moment, thought for a moment, and asked, "Do you miss home?" "Yes," he replied. However, though his attitude seemed somewhat perfunctory, his inner feelings were genuine. He truly missed home. Hrisvitha's pupils trembled slightly as she asked, "Your parents?" "I grew up in an orphanage and never met my parents. My master and mistress adopted me." "Oh, then we are similar." "Are you an orphan?" It was a bit tense, like scolding someone. But Leon, being straightforward and candid, didn't think too much about it. Fortunately, Hrisvitha didn't really understand the human social logic of cursing. She just shook her head and earnestly responded, "No. What I mean is, I haven't met my father and mother either. Our grandmother raised my sister and me." As she said this, she slightly lowered her head, finally willing to change her dignified and elegant sitting posture. Leon opened his eyes just a sliver, secretly sizing her up. The proud queen at this moment appeared a bit lonely. Leon closed his eyes again, with no intention of empathizing with her, just teasing as usual. "Oh, that explains it." Hrisvitha looked at him. "Explains what?" "That explains why you're not good at being a mom." "I'm not good at being a mom, being a mother. You see, when Muen and the others aren't around, you always use the word mother." Hrisvitha frowned. "Is there something wrong with the term mother?" "Then how do they address you?" "They call me Dad." Leon shrugged. "See, according to the usual way of addressing, Dad is always paired with Mom. Muen prefers to call me Dad instead of Father, indicating that she prefers this more affectionate term." "Isn't the term mother endearing?" Hrisvitha asked seriously. "Of course, it's not that it's not endearing, it's just too formal. It makes things a bit awkward." Upon hearing this, Hrisvitha contemplated for a moment and nodded, "Okay." No need, if I lose, you can do whatever you want. She added, except for letting you go home. Leon chuckled but didn't say anything. After the topic was addressed, they remained silent for about 20 minutes. Risvitha slowly stood up and said, "Let's go, we have another place to go." "What place?" "Well, actually, inviting you out this time wasn't just for a walk. I also want to show you something." Risvitha said, "I can't let you go home, but this should help alleviate your troubles." Leon didn't inquire about what it was but squinted at Risvitha. "You're really acting a bit strange today, Mother Dragon." Risvitha shrugged. "Since you don't believe me, forget it. Let's just go back now." With that, Risvitha turned around and walked back the way they came. But she heard Leon calling from behind before she could take a couple of steps. "Hey, take me to see what it is." Risvitha with her back to Leon, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "Finally, I'm hooked." Vol 1ch 24. Risvitha led Leon to a winding path on the back mountain of the temple, stepping on smooth stone steps and gradually heading deeper. "Where are we going?" Leon asked, following behind. "You'll find out when we get there." Leon's steps hesitated, the mountain forest, the atmosphere, the two of them alone. It brought back some unpleasant memories for him. He stood still, swallowed hard, and said, "Let me tell you, Mother Dragon, if you're thinking of having me do that thing like last time while watching your temple, it won't work at all because I have zero feelings for your territory." Risvitha walked ahead, chuckled lightly, and without turning her head she said, "Relax, I'm not that unreasonable or ruthless. When it's time to relax, we relax, and when it's time to think about home." She stopped in her tracks, and a towering and imposing iron gate stood before them. "Think about home." Leon also noticed the building in front of them. No sign, no guards, just a strict and cold iron gate. "This is?" Leon asked. "Oh, I haven't given it a name. You can call it a warehouse, storage room, or the Queen's treasury, whatever you like," Risvitha replied. Risvitha raised her hand as she spoke, and silver magical energy danced at her fingertips. Then she infused the magical energy into the keyhole of the iron gate, and the gate slowly opened inward. Risvitha stepped inside. "Come in." Leon hesitated for a moment, but silently followed. Passing through the iron gate and walking down a few steps, several rows of neatly arranged display shelves appeared in front of Leon. Leon excitedly ran to a display shelf, examining a finely crafted bracelet. Leon was a knowledgeable dragon slayer and could instantly tell the bracelet's extravagance and rarity. If this were in the Empire, it could sell for at least a few 100,000 gold coins. "That's the bracelet my grandmother gave me for my coming-of-age ceremony," Risvitha explained. Leon nodded and then turned his gaze to other collectibles. His attention was fully absorbed by these precious collectibles, completely unaware that Risvitha quietly closed and locked the iron door of the treasury. After a while, Leon collected his excitement, typical of a country bumpkin entering the city, and asked, "Why did you bring me here?" "Oh, found it right here." Before Leon could voice his confusion, Risvitha tiptoed and retrieved a box from the top shelf. They placed the box on the ground, and Risvitha gently blew off the accumulated dust. "I just told you things that can temporarily make you forget your worries." With that, Risvitha aimed the opening of the box towards Leon, and then opened it. Leon looked inside with curiosity. But when he saw what was inside, he was so surprised that he couldn't speak. Leon's eyes widened, his mouth slightly ajar, and the black pupils reflected that long-lost companion after 2 years. Black gold war machine. Crafted by the Empire's finest artisans, the armor had accompanied Leon in battles from the north to the south, countless times shielding him from fatal harm. Leon slowly reached out, his fingertips brushing the armor's surface gently. The familiar texture, devoid of any signs of aging, clearly indicated that Risvitha had meticulously maintained this set of armor over the past 2 years. "How about trying it on?" Risvitha suggested. "Huh? What's with the huh? Try it on." "Oh." Leon took out the various parts of the black and gold war machine from the box, and skillfully put them on one by one. After donning the armor, Risvitha clasped her hands together, squinted her eyes, and said with anticipation, "It looks very handsome, just as handsome as when you were wielding a sword to chop off my head back then." How you dragons interpret positive and negative words is unpredictable, Leon commented. Leon happily admired the black and gold war machine on himself. Indeed, the old buddy still looked as majestic as back in the day. Leon suddenly noticed that there seemed to be a small notch in the chest plate. How did this happen? The black and gold war machine has a self-repair function. It should have fully recovered in 2 years, Leon inquired. Risvitha shook her head, not sure, maybe it got accidentally bumped or scratched. Is that so? He wiped the notch, and fortunately it wasn't too large. You wouldn't notice it without a close look. He grinned like a child who had just received a new toy. Thanks, Risvitha. I didn't expect you to have a human touch. Thanks. Yeah. Leon lifted his head, but his smile instantly froze. Because the aura emitted by the dragoness in front of him had completely changed. Gentle, elegant, dignified, everything vanished when Leon locked eyes with her. In her silver dragon eyes danced pink hearts, and dragon patterns seemed to shimmer beneath the fabric on her chest. The queen grinned, revealing a slightly unhealthy smile, step by step approaching Leon. Dragoness, before you go crazy, let me remind you that the black and gold war machine is enchanted, enhancing various wearer attributes, so I might not be afraid of you now. With the capital to resist, Leon straightened his spine. However, Risvitha just smirked contemptuously, still approaching Leon. I've meticulously maintained this set of armor for 2 years. Do you think I wouldn't have done anything to it? Leon was startled. What? Risvitha raised her hand and snapped her fingers gracefully. Leon's black and gold war machine instantly became incredibly heavy, dragging him to the ground. At the same time, dragon patterns slowly appeared on the chest plate. The reaction of the dragon patterns was more intense than usual. Risvitha flipped the immobile Leon over, making him lie flat. Then, she straddled his armor with long legs. Do you think I forgot about what happened 3 days ago? I've been acting like a good girl all day, and you fell for it. The queen smiled. How was my acting? Pretty good, huh? Leon's pupils trembled. You haven't seen your parents either. You'd let Muanoya call you mom, and the hand-holding. Being a dragon knight wasn't the first time for Leon. He could endure it reluctantly. But he couldn't tolerate Risvitha deceiving him like this. No, those were all true, but it doesn't change what I will do to you now, Leon. She opened her collar, unleashing the long-awaited dragon pattern. How did you describe it 3 days ago? Oh, you said I like conquest. I'll conquer you now. Are you ready, my dear husband Tilda? Vol 1ch 25. The sensation brought by the double dragon patterns was equally heightened. Risvitha could achieve an exaggerated effect, similar to a sensational explosion, by gently gliding her fingertips over Leon's skin. Leon bit his lip, furrowed his brow, and clenched his fists tightly, exerting great effort to suppress his instincts and impulses. However, the electric surge brought by the dragon patterns was washing over his teetering sanity like a fierce flood. Risvitha didn't even need much of an intro to him. Just looking down at him, smiling at him, could ignite the fierce fire within him. Double dragon patterns, what kind of experience is that, Leon? Can you tell me? She smiled, a captivating and charming smile, like an enchanting fairy. In moments of excitement, there are only 2 things on a dragon's mind: destruction and conquest. Apart from that, they didn't think about anything else at all, and Risvitha was currently in this state of excitement. Leon was restraining his impulses. Similarly, Risvitha was suppressing her dragon instincts. She wanted so much to blend her flesh with the prey in front of her, to destroy his body, will and dignity, to use the most unbearable means to force him to beg for mercy in front of her, to indulge in the desire to conquer within her heart. But she couldn't yet. She wanted to slowly, bit by bit, thoroughly enjoy and torment everything about the person beneath her. Leon's patience, his resistance, and the appearance of someone who clearly wanted to let go of reason and indulge in the queen's tenderness, but due to the pitiful pride of the dragon slayer, desperately held onto his bottom line. All of these were spoils of revenge for Risvitha. Risvitha extended her hand, gently brushing Leon's feverish cheek with the back of her hand. Admiring the resolute yet determined face, she sincerely praised her nominal husband. You still look handsome, Leon, much like 2 years ago. The scars on your face have faded, but there's an added touch of exhaustion and maturity, giving you the essence of a seasoned man. A simple touch had already stirred the fire deep within Leon's heart. He clenched his teeth, clinging to his last shred of reason. However, he was also aware that, in the end, he still could not resist the resonance of the dragon pattern. Moreover, Rosvitha had tampered with his armor, adding another layer of dragon pattern. Under the doubled impact, no one could withstand it at all, and this was the back mountain far from the temple, with no one around. Rosvitha could fully unleash her wild side here, without any restraint or concern. Ugh, damn it. Leon growled slowly. The response of the dragon pattern became even stronger, and he could no longer resist. Rosvitha's eyes curve into two crescents, filled with endless ambiguity and tenderness. Laidon, tilde Laidon. The dragon pattern similarly washed over Rosvitha's reason. She has even started calling Leon's name involuntarily. Suddenly, the queen's waist softened, instantly resting on the breastplate of the black gold war chariot. The firm armor slightly deformed those two plump mounds. Leon secretly rejoiced that there was still a layer of armor between Rosvitha and himself. Otherwise, they would have their dragon patterns close to each other now. However, Leon's happiness was premature. Then Rosvitha slowly approached his face. Silver strands of hair fell from her side, and the tips lightly tickled Leon's forehead and nose. Ticklish and tingling, but what itched even more was Leon's heart. Their lips were very close, just the width of a finger apart. Leon could even feel the scalding breath of Rosvitha spraying on his face. This was an initiative she had never taken before. Getting so close, so close. Close enough that with a slightly deeper breath, their lips could touch. Rosvitha. HMPH, this is just revenge, Leon. Leon's vision became increasingly blurry, and his breath grew heavier. Before the dragon pattern completely consumed his consciousness, the last scene he saw was Rosvitha's emotional and tender dragon eyes. After an unknown amount of time, Leon slowly woke up. Every muscle and joint ached, and a slight movement caused the bones to crackle. It felt as if someone had broken all the bones in his body and then put them back together. Gritting his teeth, he sat up and leaned against the cold wall behind him. Lifting his head to look forward, Rosvitha seemed to have just recovered from exhaustion, dressing herself methodically. The glow of the dragon pattern, like a dawn bonfire, flickered twice and then extinguished. After dressing, Rosvitha meticulously placed the scattered black gold war chariot components back into the box. Her movements were light and careful, showing a high level of seriousness. After returning the box to its place, Rosvitha walked slowly to a spot about 3 meters in front of Leon and sat down against one side of a display rack. The queen also looked weary, with a lingering flush on her face. Her tail lay limp by her side, and her silver hair seemed slightly disheveled. Leon's buttock rested against the cold stone wall, and despite his heavy eyelids, he still responded to Rosvitha's gaze. The atmosphere between them was delicate, as if the lively moments from just now had never happened. "I want to rest for a bit before heading back," Leon said. "Okay." Her voice sounded a bit hoarse. Probably got too involved in the play just now, and her throat was a bit hoarse. Leon looked at her tired appearance, sensing that her mood also seemed a bit low. Through several instances of contact, Leon had already noticed this. But thinking about it, it was normal. While humiliating Leon through this method, she was also tormenting her own boundaries and inner self. The thrill of revenge existed only at the moment, not afterwards. But Leon didn't actively ask or express concern for Rosvitha. Anyway, she would be fine again in a few minutes, returning to that aloof and scheming Silver Dragon Queen. Leon silently leaned against the corner, head lowered, silent. Sizzling. Again, the sound of fabric rubbing against skin. Leon thought Rosvitha was getting up to leave, so he looked up. To his surprise, Rosvitha gradually crawled towards him. Using her palms and knees to touch the ground, her tail casually behind her. Even though Leon had clearly seen her, she pretended to approach him cautiously, like a cautious and playful cat. Leon pursed his lips, shrinking. "What are you doing?" She crawled in front of Leon, one hand propped on his thigh, and the other gently lifted his chin. Their noses were close, like the almost kiss during their intimate moments earlier. However, at this moment, Rosvitha's dragon eyes were no longer filled with emotional tenderness, but rather a very familiar playfulness and teasing. Just as Leon had thought a moment ago, the low mood passed, and she reverted to that scheming queen. The queen said softly, "Leon, your body doesn't seem as vigorous as before, huh?" Vol 1ch 26. Leon's physique wasn't as robust as before. Not as robust as before Tilda. "Ah," Leon exclaimed, abruptly waking up from his dream. He gasped heavily, cold sweat streaming down his body. After sitting on the bed to calm down, Leon's body softened, leaning against the bedhead. He glanced towards the window. Faint moonlight spilt in, accompanied by the continuous chorus of cicadas. Leon swallowed, covered his heart that was still pounding, closed his eyes, and began to recall the dream he just had. It wasn't a nightmare at all. It was a vivid memory from the daytime when he and Risvitha were in the warehouse. After the rain, he sat on the ground, chatting with Risvitha. Risvitha, with a hint of doubt, mentioned that his body wasn't as strong as before. Leon quickly opened his eyes and shook his head, trying to expel that awkward scene from his mind. Wiping his face with cold water in the bathroom, he dragged his heavy body back to bed. Exhaustion instantly engulfed him, waves of drowsiness rolling over, and Leon fell into a deep sleep. Before completely drifting off, Leon mumbled in a daze, "Damn Mother Dragon, how dare she say that about me?" The next morning, Leon was awakened by knocking on the door. He put on his clothes and groggily went to open the door. He expected it to be Muin, but Risvitha and Noya were outside the door. A stubborn donkey. And her stubborn donkey daughter, he thought. "Good morning, Leon," Risvitha greeted politely. "Morning," Leon replied. Then looking down at Noya, "Good morning to you too, Noya." "Yeah, morning." Leon didn't insist on it because his elder daughter was still unwilling to shake hands. He looked at Risvitha. "Is there something you need?" "Didn't Noya say a few days ago that she wanted to go to the Dragonling department of St. High's Academy? The academy has rigorous entrance tests. I hope that you can tutor Noya in cultural knowledge this month." Leon's thoughts shifted slightly. He didn't immediately respond but turned to Noya. "I would like to talk to Mom alone. Can you go inside and wait for me, Noya?" Noya nodded and walked into the house. "What's the matter?" Risvitha asked. "I can teach Noya some basic cultural knowledge, but in return, I would like to negotiate for something equivalent, like the walk we had before when Muin learned to write her name or something else." Risvitha raised an eyebrow. "Are you bargaining with me?" "I certainly can. Hopefully, after all." The queen lowered her eyes, pretending to glance at Leon's lower body casually, then added meaningfully, "After all's you know, so for now you can only prove your worth in other areas." Leon blinked as if recalling something, chuckled, and said, "A deal. How come I remember someone saying a few days ago that they didn't need to promise me anything?" Facing Leon's teasing, Risvitha smiled it off. "I was just afraid that someone might suddenly fall ill again, seeking revenge for a momentary thrill, and then getting knocked out by my punch for 3 days." "All right, it's a deal." Leon couldn't help but feel a sharp pain as Risvitha's cutting words pierced his vulnerable heart. Risvitha looked at him, satisfied with the helpless expression on his face, and smiled. "So, study well, I'm leaving." With that, Risvitha turned and walked towards the corridor. Leon was about to close the door. Before he could fully close the door, he heard Risvitha delivering another blow from a distance. "Oh, by the way, dear husband, don't get too tired, Tilda." She feigned a concerned look, indicating a goodbye to Leon. Leon slammed the door shut. "What's wrong? Did you have another argument with Mom?" Noya peeked out of the room. "No, just casual conversation. Wait a moment, what did you just call her?" "Mom." Leon's eyes lit up and he excitedly walked over, crouching in front of Noya. "Did she ask you to call her that?" "Yeah, we talked about it this morning, and she asked me to call her that." Well, the matter he discussed with Risvitha yesterday, she already tried to have Noya call her this morning. The mother dragon was dishonest but still had efficient actions. In the midst of the surprise, Leon asked again, "Oh, so do you think the previous name was better, or is the current one better?" Noya thought seriously and answered, "The current one." A father knew his daughter best. See, Mother Dragon, that was the instinct of a father. Noya looked at Leon, who suddenly became inexplicably happy, gave him a disdainful glance, and then said, "When do we start studying?" Leon immediately got up and went to open the door. Anna handed over several thick books in her hands. They were heavy with a substantial weight. These books cover fundamental magical theory, a general overview of dragon history, and the organization of some daily knowledge. They are all topics that will be tested in the entrance exams at St. High's Academy, Anna explained. Okay, I understand. Well then, we won't disturb Prince Leon teaching His Highness. We'll take our leave. After hesitating, Leon suddenly said, Hey, wait a moment, Anna. Is there anything else, Your Highness? Later, bring me 2 books related to medicinal herbs. Anna's eyes twitched slightly, not understanding why the prince wanted books related to medicinal herbs. However, since the prince requested, Anna would comply without conditions. All right, Your Highness, someone will bring them to you shortly. Yes, thank you. Anna gave a slight bow and then left the room. Holding the books, Leon returned to the room and with a thud placed the books on the table. He tapped the topmost book and looked at Noya. Shall we begin? Yes. Because tutoring Noya wasn't something that had been discussed between Leon and Rosvitha before, and Leon hadn't prepared for it. Therefore, he could only start with some basic topics for Noya. However, as he flipped through a book titled Basic Knowledge of Dragon Physiology, for quite some time, he didn't start talking. Noya couldn't help but ask, Why haven't you started yet? If it's not working out, I can learn independently, Noya said. Leon's gaze didn't leave the books. These things are too simple for you. You can look at them on your own when you go back. There's no need for us to waste time on this. Rosvitha had told Leon some things about Noya yesterday during their leisure time. He knew that Noya was very intelligent, with a high level of comprehension. So it was true that there was no need to waste time specifically explaining these things. Muen's teaching methods didn't apply to Noya. Upon hearing Leon said this, Noya's normally icy expression showed a rare hint of surprise. Did this mean he acknowledged her abilities? Did he not view her as a child? Noya bit her lip, lowered her head, and played with the tip of her tail, making it difficult to describe her emotions. Actually, she didn't have much expectation for Leon before coming. A homey dad who seemed only capable of caring for children, what knowledge could he teach her? However, Leon changed Noya's impression of him after today's close interaction. Perhaps, this father-daughter session could help Noya better understand the man in front of her. Vol 1ch 27. In the end, Leon devised effective tutoring methods suitable for Noya's current situation. Among the books just delivered by head maid Anna were some past test papers from St. High's Academy. Leon quickly glanced at these test questions, all related to dragon knowledge. Seeing this, Leon breathed a sigh of relief. As a top dragon slayer in the Empire, he believed he understood dragons better than the dragons themselves. Even though his body wasn't as capable as before, he hadn't forgotten the knowledge he acquired. Leon planned to teach Noya using his understanding of dragons, test questions and content from dragon-related books. Leon formulated the supplementary study plans swiftly. As a former top Dragon Slayer graduate of the Dragon Slayer Academy, he said, Okay Noya, let's get started officially. The first thing we're learning is how dragons use magic. He pushed a basic magic book in front of Noya and said, This book is well designed. The titles in the table of contents are clear and concise, covering the corresponding content. My idea is this. First, quickly scan through the table of contents. Then, based on the levels of easy to understand, somewhat understandable, and completely incomprehensible, use green, yellow, and red pens to mark the titles. Because I just checked the information from previous years and found that to pass the entrance test for St. High's Academy, it's generally prepared a year in advance. But we only have 1 month left. So we must try every possible way to improve the efficiency of our review. I believe in you, Noya, you can do it. Once you're ready, let's begin. Leon pushed the pens of 3 different colors and the book of magic basics she needed to study in front of her. Noya's emotional control was impeccable. Although surprised by the efficiency of this dad taking care of the child, she didn't act too much like a child. After taking the book and pen, she started marking the table of contents according to Leon's method. Watching his eldest daughter's serious demeanor, Leon felt quite satisfied. There was no unnecessary communication, no meaningless questions. Everything was for the sake of efficiency. However, teaching a student like Noya put some pressure on Leon as a teacher. Noya's learning ability was undoubtedly much stronger than Muen's, and Leon must always stay ahead as the one imparting knowledge to her. It's all marked. Neuer's voice brought him back from his memories. Leon collected his thoughts, took the book, and checked the table of contents annotated by Neuer. Yeah, not bad. 70% of the difficulty is in green and yellow, and only a few chapters are too challenging for you to understand right. Neuer nodded. Okay, these are just a simple overview of our learning framework. Just because we mark something in yellow doesn't mean we truly don't understand it. Similarly, not everything marked in yellow is necessarily fully understood. So in the next step, I'll focus on explaining the chapters you marked in yellow, and we can discover any issues during the explanation, all right? Okay. Leon nodded and began explaining the sections Neuer had marked in yellow. Class time passed quickly, and 3 hours flew by. Leon wrote and drew on the book, covering all the key points with Neuer. The next step was the practical application to understand the knowledge truly. He found a set of past test questions. Let's go through the questions first. This way, we can visually identify where we still need improvement. Let's begin. Our shortcomings. Neuer noticed that Leon often used these terms to refer to both of them. And he rarely used expressions like, "Do you understand?" or the like. Neuer didn't know if he did it intentionally or not, but this way of speaking made it easy for people to follow his train of thought. Neuer shook her head, choosing not to dwell on things outside of studying. She took the test paper, picked up a pen, and answered the questions. The test questions mainly were comprehension and straightforward, without any numerical calculations, so Neuer quickly handled them. She bit the eraser of her pencil, furrowed her brow, and patiently examined each question. It was hard to imagine a child over 1 year old being so focused on thinking. After arriving at an answer, Neuer's usually expressionless face unconsciously broke into a smile, but as soon as she noticed Leon watching her from the side, she immediately reverted to her usual expressionless demeanor. It was quite adorable. This cuteness was different from Muen's. It was more subtle and reserved. 20 minutes later, she handed the test paper to Leon. Leon checked the answers and finally calculated Neuer's score. Out of 100 points, guess how much you scored? Leon wanted to use this opportunity to ease the tense studying atmosphere. 50. 62. Oh. Leon put down the test paper and said with a smile, "You got 62 on your first attempt, which is already impressive." "Thank you." "What did you say?" Leon didn't hear clearly. "Nothing." Neuer nodded in acknowledgement and didn't ask further. Leon stretched lazily, stood up to loosen his muscles, and then sat back down to prepare for the afternoon teaching. As he had thought, having an intelligent student wasn't easy. He had to stay ahead of Neuer to guide her properly. Of course, he probably guessed the other reason why Roswitha specifically asked him to teach Neuer. It was to take the opportunity to let the eldest daughter torment Leon a bit. Muen naturally had a fondness for Leon, and it was unnecessary to cultivate their relationship too much, but Neuer was different. At such a young age, she had her thoughts and way of doing things, making it difficult for her to accept someone who had been in a coma for 2 years as her father. Of course, besides this, Leon faintly felt that Neuer harbored some resentment towards him, and there were likely other reasons for it. With her intelligence, she might have already noticed that the man who should be called father didn't have such a good relationship with her mom, right? So in this teaching session, Leon wouldn't just go through the motions, and he wouldn't consider the eldest daughter to be a torment to himself. He would take it seriously, hoping to change some of Neuer's views about him. And then rebel against her. Vol 1ch 28. The focus of this afternoon's tutoring would be on Neuer's incorrect questions. After reviewing the wrong answers, Leon discovered that his eldest daughter had a very accurate assessment of her abilities. Almost all her incorrect responses were from chapters labeled with red difficulty levels in the table of contents. However, she answered correctly in chapters with green and yellow difficulty levels. This way, they could significantly reduce the time spent on the wrong path. Learning was like treating an illness. It got better faster when they addressed the specific issues. Throughout the entire afternoon, Neuer learned a lot of new knowledge. As she was leaving, she finally managed to say to Leon openly, "Thank you." The thank you relieved the old father's heart. Leon suppressed the urge to let his mouth curl into a smile and said, "No problem, it's what I should do." The eldest daughter nodded, holding the homework Leon had assigned to her. She turned, stood on tiptoe, raised her arm, grasped the doorknob, opened the door and left. Leon breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look out of the window. It was almost night. He quickly finished dinner and then sat back at his desk. The basic medicinal herb books the maid Anna had brought were on the table. Also, at noon, he had asked Noya to bring him a few chili peppers. Leon picked up one, examined it, and muttered, "These chili peppers are no different from the ones Master grows." With that, he took a bite and chewed. 2 seconds later, water, 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 water. He crawled to the sink, turned on the faucet, and cold water rushed into his mouth, but it didn't neutralize the intense sensation from the crazy chili pepper. Leon, overwhelmed by the spiciness, covered his mouth and rolled on the ground. It felt as if someone had stuffed a scorching hot piece of charcoal into his mouth. Leon eased up a bit after struggling with his taste buds for a few minutes. Tears streamed down his face, and his lips were numb, as if he couldn't feel the presence of his lips anymore. If your dragon clan's daily meals are all this spicy, you'll get hemorrhoids sooner or later. After grumbling in frustration, Leon climbed up from the ground and returned to his desk. After this ordeal, the exhaustion from the day disappeared. Leon wiped his face, rallied his spirits, and began preparing for tomorrow's teaching. In a trance, he felt like he had returned to his days at the Dragon-Slaying Academy. He wouldn't let himself have idle time, whether it was reviewing or previewing. No wonder his roommate said he was a bookworm. Studying late into the night, when he felt too tired, Leon would chew on a chili pepper his master had given him. It provided an excellent refreshing effect. He had recently awakened from a coma and should have rested more. However, Noya would take the entrance test next month, so he had to make the most of his time to prepare lessons and create a rigorous and efficient study plan. Therefore, when his body couldn't endure much, Leon had to force himself to stay alert by chewing on chili peppers. And when it came to dragon peppers, indeed, they could satisfy his needs far beyond Leon's expectations. His focus during the study was so intense that it was already well past 11 in the evening when he remembered to take a break. He rubbed his slightly heavy eyes, feeling the exhaustion, and grabbed a chili pepper from beside him, taking a bite. The sharp and refreshing sensation surged in an instant, and all fatigue vanished. Leon tightly gripped his thigh, enduring the fiery spiciness in his mouth. After easing up a bit, Leon set aside the prepared teaching materials and plans, instead turning to the drawer to take out those several herbal medicine books. To be honest, it was shameful. Risvitha's comment, "Your body is not as strong as before," felt like a dagger in Leon's pride. And it just so happened that all bookworms shared a common trait. They were both stubborn and loved to argue about trivial details. When he asked the maid Anna for books on medicinal herbs in the morning, it was to see if anything could replace his current nutritional supplements. Relying solely on nutritional supplements, it would take ages for his body to recover to normal levels. Leon couldn't allow that mother dragon to look down on him. He wanted Risvitha to pay a painful price for her comment, "Your body is not as strong as before." With this in mind, Leon ignited his determination, opened the medicinal herb book, and looked up the information he might need. Red sap dragon fruit, delicious flesh. The pit can be used as a medicinal herb, with the effect of regulating cayenne blood. Not useful. Dark lotus grass. The external application can alleviate certain degrees of external injuries. Internal use can regulate digestive functions. Darn, your dragon herbs really serve dual purposes. Dragon kidney protector with Darn. What an abstract name for a dragon kidney protector. Sounds so unserious. At a glance, it's... He mocked, squinting slightly, his gaze falling on the subsequent introduction. Hiss, as expected, it really fits my stereotypical impression of this name. But what Leon needed wasn't a drug, with such a direct and intense function, as Dragon Kidney Protector. He still wanted something focused on nourishing the body and supplementing. However, after flipping through the book for a while, Leon still didn't find the medicine he sought. Just as he was about to check another book, the door lock suddenly made a noise. Leon quickly hid the basic medicine book and placed the materials Noya would need tomorrow on the table. The visitor was none other than Risvitha. "Oh, still not asleep?" she said, walking towards the inner room. "Yes," Leon replied, pretending to be calm and gloomy. Risvitha walked slowly to the edge of the bed and sat down. She raised her long legs, propped herself up with one hand, and placed the other on her knee, lazily showing a hint of fatigue. Leon pursed his lips, feeling the dragon mark on his chest. Luckily, there was no reaction. It seemed that the mother dragon wasn't here tonight to scold him. Despite this, Leon didn't initiate a conversation with her. Instead, he reviewed the supplementary study plan he had prepared earlier, checking for shortcomings. Risvitha's gaze shifted slowly from Leon to the chili peppers on his desk. She furrowed her brow and asked, "Why are you eating chili peppers?" "For staying alert." "Yeah, staying alert." "Yeah, Noya has the entrance test next month. Normally, it should be prepared a year in advance, but we don't have that much time. So pulling some late nights to put in extra effort," Leon said, adjusting his teaching materials without looking back. After a pause, Leon added, "Also, I want to thank you." Risvitha raised an eyebrow. "Thank me?" "Yeah, thank you for giving birth to our daughter. You're so smart. I am confident I can help her pass the test within a month." The queen chuckled. "Noya takes after me." Leon paused, finally putting down the plan and turning around with a severe expression, asking, "How did you come to this conclusion?" Risvitha blinked, seemingly caught off guard by Leon's question. Well, I entered the Imperial Dragon Slayer Academy at 10 and graduated at 15 with top scores in both written and practical exams. I received all the highest level scholarships for 5 years, and at graduation, the principal personally honored me. I am also the first underage graduate in the Academy's nearly century-long history. After graduation, I won championships in all the skill competitions within the Dragon Slayer army. Leon looked into Risvitha's eyes and asked deliberately, "So, Your Majesty, what championships do you have?" Risvitha was left speechless by this guy's retort. Honestly, she really hadn't expected Leon to be a top student. She had always considered him a brute who only knew how to fight and kill. However, she was not about to praise Leon to his face. In response to Leon's questioning, Risvitha replied casually, "So, you're quite impressive." "Of course. How did you end up being my captive then?" "Leon." The silence broke through. Vol 1ch 29. The queen smiled with satisfaction, her eyes forming 2 crescent moons. Leon couldn't discern if she was mocking him or found their recent conversation amusing as she laughed. He silently turned around, continuing to modify the tutoring plan. Rustle. Fabric rubbed against the sheets, followed by the gradually approaching sound of high heels. After a moment, a faint fragrance wafted from behind Leon. That was the fragrance of Risvitha. Leon had smelled it many times. She reached for a chili pepper on the table, smelled it in front of her nose, and immediately furrowed her brow. Indeed, the smell was quite pungent. Even a dragon like Risvitha found it too strong. Surprisingly, Leon considered it a refreshing tonic. It was daring. Risvitha put down the chili pepper and reached her hand towards Leon's chin. Before Leon could react, she abruptly pinched his chin, forcing him to turn his head to look at her. Risvitha's fingertips conveyed a scalding sensation. Up close, Leon's entire cheeks and lips were red, and there were traces of tears in the corners of his eyes. She gently flicked Leon's burning lower lip with her thumb, not applying too much force. "If you want to refresh yourself, ask Anna for coffee. What's the difference between this and self-harm?" "I drank coffee for half a year during school. You build up a tolerance and it becomes ineffective. Chili is more straightforward," Leon replied. "But this is dragon pepper. Aren't you a human afraid you can't handle it?" "Don't underestimate me." All right, once he became stubborn like this, he was just like Risvitha, and even 8 oxen couldn't pull him back. Risvitha chuckled and withdrew her hand. Leon pursed his tingling lips, secretly enjoying being touched on the face by Risvitha. He did not have any strange fetishes, but because Risvitha's fingertips were pleasantly cool, when they touched his hot cheeks, it felt comfortable. The thought of it seemed a bit perverse. "Rest early, don't eat too many peppers. If your mouth gets too spicy, you'll have to teach Noya using sign language," the queen advised. With that, the high heels queen leisurely left the bedroom. The door clicked as it locked, and the light from the corridor seeped in through the crack as Risvitha exited the room. Leon breathed a sigh of relief, and once he was sure Risvitha had gone far enough, he took out the medicinal book again and continued reading. In the end, he found a medication in a chapter of the last book that met his requirements. The name of this medicine was indeed a long dali. Leon took a sharp breath. How is this even more abstract than that dragon kidney guardian? It's not some kind of aphrodisiac, is it? Fortunately, the description of the drug's effects only mentioned that Long Dali was a highly efficient tonic, unrelated to virility. Leon's eyes brightened at this point, and he immediately looked further down to find out where he could get this Long Dali. However, the result poured cold water on Leon's excited heart. Although the ingredients required for Long Dali are common, even the most outstanding pharmacists among the dragons have a low chance of successfully concocting it. As a health tonic, Long Dali often finds itself in an awkward situation in the dragon market, valuable but with little demand. Leon rubbed his chin and continued reading. The book also mentioned the method of refining Long Dali, emphasizing how difficult it was to perfect the process. Leon pursed his lips and flipped through the pages again. He found that apart from Long Dali meeting his current needs, other drugs were not quite suitable. Moreover, dragon and human ingredients differed significantly, especially in refining methods. So in someone else's territory, he could only use what belonged to them. After some hesitation, he picked up pen and paper and listed the ingredients for Long Dali. He planned to give Anna this list tomorrow, asking her to help gather the required ingredients. Leon couldn't casually leave the room, so this method was his only way to gather the ingredients. At the same time, Leon added some other ingredients to the list. This confused others and prevented them from realizing he intended to refine Long Dali. Damn, the more I hear this name, the more abstract it sounds. Your dragon names are so beautiful, like Moon, Hero, Galaxy, and when naming ingredients, it's either Kidney Guardian or Long Dali. Leon neatly stored the prepared list as he complained, then stood up and went to the bathroom to take another sip of cold water. His mouth still felt numb and spicy. He tried to exhale and found his throat uncomfortable. A mild burning sensation accompanied the passage of warm air over his throat. Tomorrow, I might have to teach Noya using sign language. That might be a bit exaggerated, but the discomfort in his throat was a given. After a brief wash, Leon got into bed and went to sleep. A night passed in silence. The next morning, the maid Anna brought Leon breakfast, and he handed her the list of ingredients he had prepared the night before. Anna didn't ask many questions. She just explained that it would be possible to gather everything tomorrow. Leon said it was okay, there was no rush. After Anna left, Leon brought breakfast into the room, consisting of bread, boiled chicken breast, and a cup of water. There was nothing to complain about. Having this food, Leon felt he had surpassed 99.9% of the defeated captives. He tore off a small piece of bread and put it in his mouth. After chewing a couple of times, he swallowed. But a sharp and painful sensation hit him when the bread reached his throat. Leon quickly took a sip of water, allowing the bread to go smoothly. He raised his hand to touch his throat, feeling a pronounced discomfort even through the flesh. As expected, ate too many peppers. There was a knock on the door. Someone was at the door. Leon set down the bread and went to answer the door. It was Noya. Just her. Good morning, Noya. Leon greeted his eldest daughter with a smile, despite the discomfort. Good morning. Still without any titles, but Leon was used to it. He let Noya into the room. The little ice dragoness held yesterday's homework in her hand and followed Leon into the bedroom. They took their seats in the same positions as yesterday, and Noya handed over her completed homework. After glancing at the paper, Leon heard Noya speak. What's the matter? Here, this is for you. Candy, Leon blinked and asked, what kind of candy is this? Throat lozenges. Leon was a little surprised, for me. Yeah, it's from Mom, not me. Leon didn't expose her. He just took the throat lozenges and said, help me say thank you to your mom. Yeah. So saying it's from Mom, no issues at all. Noya thought this in her mind. Leon took a throat lozenge to soothe his throat and started checking Noya's test paper simultaneously. Well done, the completion rate is very high, so our main task this morning is to reinforce yesterday's topics. Shall we start now? Noya obediently nodded, okay. Vol 1ch, 30. In the evening, Leon placed a few chili peppers and the box of throat lozenges that Noya gave him during the day on the side. Then, he began preparing for tomorrow's review content and plan. Noya's understanding and talent were truly exceptional. Leon had to keep running ahead of his eldest daughter without stopping. Only then could he ensure she wouldn't be held back in her growth. Raising such an intelligent daughter was like nurturing a strong sapling. He had to continuously water, nurture, and provide her with a constant stream of nourishment for her to grow into a towering tree that could provide shade and shelter. Fortunately, Leon had mastered quite a few efficient learning methods during his time at the Dragon Slaying Academy and developed the habit of staying up late. Otherwise, his daughter and that stubborn mother dragon might have already despised him. Thinking of this, Leon suddenly paused. He realized that he seemed to care more and more about Rosvitha's opinion of him. If the family dinner a few days ago made Leon realize that Rosvitha didn't look down on him at all, in her eyes, Leon was no longer the formidable dragon slayer of the past. Therefore, he had a sudden illness after dinner and taught the queen a lesson. So, what happened afterwards, such as secretly arranging the dragon's strength for body nourishment and currently burning the midnight oil for lesson preparation, the determination to raise a good daughter was somewhat related to Leon caring about Rosvitha's opinion of him. Leon scratched his nose and chuckled. HMPH, it's all for my daughter. It has nothing to do with that mother dragon. This was the first time he said such a thing, but why did it sound familiar? On the day of the double dragon mark in the warehouse, Rosvitha also said something similar. Leon shook his head, refocused his thoughts, and started preparing his lessons earnestly. Until late at night, past 11, drowsiness surged, and Leon grabbed a chili pepper and took a bite. Still, it was as spicy as yesterday. After gulping down a sip of cold water, Leon placed the prepared tutoring materials aside and took out the herbs Anna had brought him during dinner. There were a dozen or so packages, but only 5 or 6 of them were the herbs needed to prepare the long Dali medicine. Leon unpacked the corresponding herbs, a mix of various kinds, some he had seen in the Empire, and others were Dragon Clan specialities. Rubbing his hands together, he opened the herbal manual and turned to the page detailing the long Dali. All right, let's get started. Leon began his pharmaceutical process by mixing and crushing 2 types of herbs, then charring a specific herb to ashes and collecting the powder. He stored it in a bottle for later use. After cleaning the test tube, Leon continued raiding. The next step is to mix these 3 herbs, then pour them into the upper clear liquid prepared by Tianlin wood, stir well, and then. Reading this sentence, Leon became fully focused and carefully studied. How to separate the active substances from the mixed powder of several herbs. The book provides 2 methods. One is high-temperature separation, but this method has strict temperature requirements, and deviations, either high or low, are not allowed. The second is physical separation, using a high-speed rotation to shake out the necessary active substances. However, the efficiency of physical separation is particularly low. Leon looked at the quantity of his herbs. Using physical separation would definitely not be sufficient. And high-temperature separation also required the use of some professional equipment, such as an alcohol lamp equipped with a fire elemental run. But it was hard to find a test tube in Leon's room, so where would the alcohol lamp come from? In his moment of worry, Leon heard the door lock sound and quickly stuffed a pile of medicinal herbs haphazardly back into the drawer. Clack, clack. Listening to the sound of high heels, he knew it was Rosvitha. Hi, the queen walked into the bedroom and greeted him proactively. Leon was shocked, raising an eyebrow. Well, good mood tonight, your majesty. You even said hi to me. Rosvitha sat on the edge of the bed, lifted her legs, leaned back slightly, and gazed at Leon with beautiful eyes. My mood is indeed good. The reason is, Noya is happy, you know. When my daughter is happy, I'm happy too. Leon turned around, resting his arms on the back of the chair. How is she happy? Rosvitha shrugged. She learned a lot of knowledge she hadn't encountered before. Even with some old knowledge, she gets a different perspective from you and thinks it's great. Leon was slightly surprised. He thought Noya always had a serious face and didn't expect her to express satisfaction privately, especially to Rosvitha. He thought Noya was still unwilling to acknowledge him as her father, always with a serious expression. Right, he didn't expect her to express satisfaction to Rosvitha in private. Leon felt secretly pleased. His daughter was unexpectedly thoughtful, even if she appeared cold. After a pause, Rosvitha added, You're doing well too, Leon. Upon hearing this, Leon grinned and was about to burst into laughter. Indeed, it was not easy to hear a dragon mother praise someone. But Rosvitha quickly added, of course, mainly because Neuer is inherently intelligent. Leon gave her a sidelong glance, pursed his lips, and continued to try to take credit. That's a given. My daughter is definitely smart. If it weren't for half of your genes, she would definitely be even smarter, Rosvitha retorted. Why not say that your half of the genes held her back? Leon countered without hesitation. Because dragons are perfect beings, humans are flawed all over. That's a stereotype. Humans have many virtues, you know. Besides, dragons are not perfect at all. Rosvitha raised an eyebrow, tilted her head, and asked with interest, how are dragons not perfect? Dragon race, dragon race. Inheriting power for thousands of years, the survival method of power made right, the ability to freely switch between human and dragon forms, the astonishing growth rate of dragonlings, and absolute loyalty to mates. Leon scratched his head, realizing that this species seemed to lack obvious flaws. HMPH can't come up with anything, huh? Rosvitha said triumphantly. Leon's eyes flickered, and suddenly he blurted out, your dragon clan has a strong sense of revenge, without specifying how he believed that this dragoness knew exactly what he meant. Rosvitha was visibly shocked, clearly not expecting Leon to come up with such a statement. After a brief moment of astonishment, the queen chuckled, not denying it, and simply said, rest assured, Dragon Slayer, you'll become even stronger in the future. Really tempted to jump off that 18-meter-high Silver Dragon temple, Leon said in despair. Rosvitha covered her mouth and chuckled, all right, let's talk about our daughter. As you wish. Then you should understand that, in fact, Neuer is a very good girl. The box of throat lozenges was her idea to give you, so she's not as cold and aloof as she may appear on the surface. At this point, Rosvitha lowered her gaze, and the previously lifted corners of her mouth also settled back. She looked at the tip of her shoe and said quietly, she's just too mature for her age. She should have the age to enjoy her parents' life peacefully, like Muin, but she has her independent thoughts and needs. Leon seriously pondered the words spoken by Rosvitha, her needs are. That's something you'll have to figure out slowly. Anyway, one thing you said is correct, Leon. She is your daughter and very intelligent, just like you. Rosvitha stood up. It seemed like she was about to end tonight's conversation. But before leaving, Rosvitha sniffed and then frowned slightly. Why is there a medicinal smell? Leon panicked and quickly stood up, feigning composure. I was a bit tired just now, had a bottle of nutritional supplement, so there's a medicinal smell. This mother dragon must not discover arranging the dragon's strength, otherwise she would definitely make a big deal out of it. By then, the little bit of family status Leon had managed to secure would all be gone. Rosvitha nodded without further questioning. All right, I'll have Anna send you more nutritional supplements tomorrow. Take good care of yourself. Leon always felt that the phrase, take good care of yourself, sounded strange. This mother dragon was definitely hinting at something again.